Hello everyone. Wow, we've had a really good turnout. This is fantastic. We're absolutely delighted to see so many people here interested in travel tech. Really exciting. I'll be passing you on shortly to our, quite frankly, amazing panel. Really exciting lineup of different companies as well as a variety of roles. So really looking forward to hearing what they're saying. Just to introduce myself, my name is Charlotte Faraday. I am Programs Manager at Code First Girls. From the Code First Girls team, we also have our CEO, Jaoude. We also have Beverly Newing, our Programs Associate. And we also have our very lovely volunteers, Cornelia and Ivy. Code First Girls, hopefully a lot of you already know about us, but we are a social enterprise startup. And we have one mission, which seems to be going quite well by the look of this room, which is to get more women into technology and entrepreneurship. We do it in a variety of ways. We run lots of free and paid-for coding courses, which is in-person part-time. We also run lots of events like this, and we also do corporate work. So if you're interested and you're not already on our newsletter, please do join that. That'll give you a monthly roundup of everything that we're doing, and do obviously check out our website. So I would also like to just invite Claudia onto the stage, who is our amazing host of Huckletree. So big thank you to Claudia for hosting us.
Hello. So welcome to Huckletree. Either if it's your first time or you've already joined us. I don't want to steal precious time to this amazing panel. So if you have any kind of question about us and about what we do, just come and grab me after the panel's over. I'll be around. Enjoy your evening here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. So I'm the moderator for the evening. My name is Annabelle Blackburn. I'm going to start off with a few introductions. And I wouldn't presume to know everything about our amazing panel tonight, so what I'm going to do is just let them introduce themselves. But I have prepared a few sort of guiding questions to sort of sort you out as we start off. So name would be a first port of call. And then because of the constant changing in the sector, what was your position before the one that you're in now? You don't necessarily have to say much about it, just sort of so that we get a bit of an idea of your career trajectory already. Your current role, what is it? What's maybe, a sentence about what you're currently doing? And then if possible, and if you can fit all of this in sort of 2 minutes, what's your favorite project or something really creative that you're working on at the moment or in the recent years that really just got you going? So Eddie, we'll start with you.
Sure.
Go for it.
My name is Eddie Jaoude, and I can't remember, what's the first question?
What's your name? I've got the name.
Next one.
The position before you were the one that you're in now.
So before I was at HMRC, I should probably say that quite quietly, don't all hate me. So yeah, the HMRC, and that was actually really good, and I'm going to jump ahead and say that was one of my favourite projects that I've worked on. They had a really modern way of looking at projects and the team, and it was a diverse team, and it was just very agile in the actual traditional term. So I really thoroughly enjoyed that project. Now I'm at Crossrail, so better. So now I'm at Crossrail, and I've been there about 10 months, and I've got a couple of months left. I'm a contractor, so I move around a lot, and should have been a developer. Yeah, so I'm a coder, big fan of coding. That's what I do most of the time. So we move around a lot of government and financial sector, and it's really interesting. And hopefully I'll tell you a bit more about it in the next few years.
I'm going to forget the order. I'm David Lowe. I work for Skyscanner. That wasn't the second question.
You know what? You just go with it.
The job before this one, I used to be head of digital at Scottish Television, which is the Scottish equivalent of ITV. I spent about 3 or 4 years there trying to persuade Scotland that they'd be watching TV on phones and tablets and computers, and everybody said I was nuts. By the time they started to actually do it, it got dull, so I moved on to do something else. Currently, I'm developer advocate at Skyscanner, which I'm going to have to explain at some point later on. But essentially, we have an end of Skyscanner, which is a travel search company, that tries to make other companies' products better in the travel industry. So we effectively go out and start things or help people to do things, and it's my job to coordinate that and do a bit of coding if need be and make sure it all happens. Have I forgotten anything?
You nailed it.
That'd be fun.
Hi, I'm Lauren Seger-Weinstein, and I am head of analytics at Transport for London. And I've been at TfL for a long time. Initially, I came for just 2 years to check it out, and that was actually now many years ago, 14 years ago. And I've done a whole host of things. So I started out in the business and policy and strategy side, and how we sort of bring together what was a new organization. And then I've always done some really tech dabbling on the side, and I've slowly moved into very heavy tech work. The role before this was that I'm doing now I'm head of our analytics team. But before that, I was looking at the requirements for developing what we were calling our future ticketing system. It's now actually here, it's not future, it's the contactless payment for the tap with your bank card, which was really exciting just thinking about how you can sort of come up with an idea and then hear some metro station people talking about it. So that was very cool. And I've got to do lots of really interesting things. So I'm going to get to talk about that.
I'm Denise. I work at Expedia, which is the largest online travel company, the largest travel agency in the world. We're about a block away from here in London. Before, I'm a technical program manager. Before I was that, I was a developer and an architect and a dev manager for about 10, 15 years. I'm American, I'm from Seattle. So I did about 9 years at Microsoft before I moved to Expedia. I was one of the original developers who built Bing before it was there was Bing. But after a while, you get tired of solving the same problem over and over, and that's how I decided that it was kind of a different part of the tech sector. So I've always been a travel junkie. So Expedia was my first choice. We were headquartered in Seattle, and I was lucky enough to get a chance to here last year. So.
I'm Finlayson, and I'm an operations and logistics manager at Uber. Prior to Uber, I was a project manager in sustainability in Montreal, so I'm Canadian. And similarly, I just came over here on a 2-year visa, and then I found Uber and sticking out. I'm loving it. Something that's really exciting that we're working on now is as we grow and scale, we're moving through all cities and towns in the UK. And my team specifically, we look at how can we centralize processes, how do we make things work across all these different local areas, and can we just do it in one place to be super efficient? And specifically, I actually work with teams, and just seeing the cities come together, like the city teams, and working towards this common goal is really exciting.
I guess last one on the list is me. So my name is Annabelle Blackburn, and I'm actually a Code Skills alumni. I did my Code Skills course while I was at the LSE. I was doing a master's degree in gender policy and inequalities, so I was really preparing myself to have an amazing job for that one. And what I currently do is I've got 3 jobs by choice, which is nice, and every 23-year-old can say that. My main job is the one that's up on that panel there, Emoderation. They're a global social media agency, and we specialize in protecting brand reputation online. And for them, I'm on their sales team, but I also do a bit of development and a bit of techie stuff in there because I just can't help myself. I also teach code at the London tech startup called Decoded, and our specialty there is sort of teaching people how to code in a day. So it's sort of the condensed version of Code First Skills, and I've really enjoyed my time there so far. And then I have to make use of my master's degree somehow. Mum and Dad would be a little bit upset if not. And I do that by working freelance as a gender consultant, which is a mix of words that most people haven't heard together. But I basically go into places and I give them tips and tricks and strategies, consulting sessions basically about how to ensure that their offices look as beautifully diverse as this room does. And I just say this is super inspiring, well done, Good for ourselves. So I think we're going to move on to the first round of questions. And I really want to get dug in, so dig in fairly quickly. But before we do that, I'd like to hear a little bit more about how you got into your current role. what was it about tech that compelled you to join the tech industry? But what is it about your current role? Basically, what do you do in a day-to-day basis? Can you describe a little bit? Because, sorry, taking one step back, a lot of the people in this room here are starting out their careers, or they're maybe thinking of a career change in the next few years. And travel tech should and certainly can be one of the core areas that they're interested in. So sort of saying, okay, welcome to my sector, this is my industry, this is who I am, this is what I do with it, and this is how I got there. So it's quite broad, but I promise we'll be digging in much deeper in the next few moments. So I'll just pass the microphone down, just like the way we did, and Ashley, I promise next time we'll start with you.
Hello again. So my typical day is a lot of big data. At Crossrail, we get a lot of data coming in from the new tracks on temperature, heat, vibrations, there's sound, even have satellite data monitoring ground movement as it rises and decreases. So it's to understand that data and visualize it and make it visual for people who do, I guess, who study geography is actually a proper word for that, I don't think it is. But do it as a career, and so they can understand the data and they give us feedback on how they want that data analysed and chopped up. So that's kind of a typical day for me. The data that they capture is so interesting that, I mean, to capture energy and sound from the station. So, I mean, in the long term, they really would like, I think, smart cities so that they can really understand what is happening. There are certain lines or stations more efficient than others. Is there more noise pollution for certain ones? So there's just so much information that can be captured, even to water movement within the ground. You know, by them putting concrete tunnels, have they affected? Well, they obviously have affected water movement, but to see actually what happens, you know, longer term. That was one of the questions. What was the other one?
Sort of like, how did you get into your role? What do you do in your day-to-day job?
So I went into tech a long time ago. I actually studied at university, and I didn't study coding. I actually did not like coding at university. All my first 3 years in undergraduate was taking all the courses to avoid coding, because no one really explained what it was. You know, you're doing all this theoretical stuff that just seemed useless. Just sort this, I don't know, table of data. But it kind of seemed pointless because within the language there was you could call one line, it would do it for you. So why am I writing all this code to do something that's already built? But then in my master's degree, I really got into coding, really started enjoying it because I had a problem and I had to try and solve it with make a solution. And I started really enjoying it. And then that's when I think the penny dropped and it made sense, and I just really wanted to stay in the tech industry. And thoroughly enjoyed it. So my parents wish I did electronic engineering as work, that's what I studied. But it's all related, and I think the amount of people I work with who either don't have degrees or who have changed from different area. I work with people from accountants, who were accountants, or who, I think the last guy I worked with, he was a landscaper originally, and then he changed because he had a passion for it and he wanted to learn it, and he did it, he did it really well. And if you do something you enjoy, then you won't have to work a day again in your life. So, yeah. I'll talk about this all night, so I've got to pass this on.
David, how about you?
So, in my day job, I said it's my job to make other companies' products better, which is quite a bold thing. So the history of that, Skyscanner has been in business like 13 years, recommending. We don't sell things, we recommend flights, like you would go to an engine to compare insurance prices and things like that. We do that for travel. So over the years, we've built up a lot of data on flight movements and what people look for and things like that. So we then extend that out to looking for other bits of travel. So if you haven't got a flight, you need a hotel, you might want to rent a car, other things. And it was originally my job to extend the product out to things that initially don't make any money. So lots of little startups. So I get blamed for a lot of things that don't work. So if nobody books a hotel, that's my fault. You have to book the flight. So I've got a lot of scars over the years, but that's okay. And after going through a lot of troubleshooting and starting mobile apps, which the company didn't have, once you got them to a certain level, it genuinely, like I said, in my old job, it got dull, so I moved on. I invented this job at Skyscanner about a year ago to be the developer advocate, which is a job title well known in companies like Google and Facebook. They have hundreds of them, which project their products out to other companies. So I go out, and let's say a company like Lonely Planet, which has a very good reputation for travel guides and content, things like that. They don't want to spend 13 years building a travel search because it's not really their business. So we find a way to give it to them, and then we do a deal to make the commercials work. That they've got a product that suits their users and not our users. We give Lonely Planet a product that suits them better. So it's my job to basically give Lonely Planet something they didn't have, but make it work well for both sides. I spend the day doing that at one level, and with startups that want to be in travel. So guys like you, if you felt like building a travel app or a website tomorrow, we would start you off doing that, not financially or anything like that, but we would give you data free for as long as you need it to build the product up and advice and samples of what we do to get you off the ground. So that's my day-to-day, either starting or extending. What was the other one?
I think that's a pretty good overview. So you've done what you do and how you got there.
I used to be an accountant. This may come on. I don't know if people watch Monty Python, but all accountants want to be lion tamers. And in central Scotland, it's not really an option. So I decided just to code. I did 9 months in the house, self-teaching, running up phone bills and stuff about 18 years ago. And it's worked out, and I work at it. As I said, if you do it right, you'll enjoy the rest of your life a little bit differently than you were. And please don't be an accountant because it's not worth it.
Right, so I have analytics in customer experience at TikTok. And so what does that mean? So we are responsible for sort of how we use the customer data. And basically, every time you tap your Oyster card or contact stamp card in the gate or reader, that data goes to charge you prop fare. And then we use it to understand how our customers are traveling across the network. So what do you do with that? You understand where people are going, where they want to go, and so we can make sure that we're providing the right sort of services to our customers. We can do things like reshape bus routes to better reflect what people want to get to. And we give that information back to customers themselves. So we have loads of emails that go out every day. And what we want to do is make sure that people who want to get emails from us want to get the right ones and useful ones, and not 25 in a day, but they want to get the 1 or 2 that are going to be valuable. So we use our data to understand how our customers are traveling the network and give that information back to those who sign up for emails. And then the other thing that we do a lot of within my team is when things go wrong, we try and put things right. So, for example, all of your gear was great. Some of you may have struggled to get here a bit. There have been problems on the Northern Line. And so one of the things that we will do is we go out and sort of look at people who were delayed on the Northern Line, and if they were delayed significantly, we will send out refunds to customers and say, right, we know that we didn't get our service right, we'll give you back your fare. And so my team that does that with me is we have developers, we have ETL developers who can sort of take data and put it into formats for data warehousing. We have front-end developers who can take the data and visualize it. And then we have people who do sort of operational research just to say, right, what are the questions that would be useful to and helpful for you to share with our customers so they understand how to travel, or to help plan our operations better. And so between people who do the very detailed sort of looking at the different sort of pattern analysis and really cool stuff now, to people who say, okay, what's the right question for us to answer? We spend a lot of time doing that as well. So that's sort of what I do in day job, and then I can talk more about some of the other fun things that we're doing later, but I can move on for now.
So when I went to university in Seattle, I didn't study anything technical, but in the early 90s, to get a job, Seattle has all tech companies, so I ended up at a wireless company. And after a couple of years, I started to realize that all the tech people were my friends, and I wasn't hanging out in my own apartment. I've always been like one of the smart girls, and I don't know how I ended up where I did, so I'm thinking maybe I had the wrong career trajectory. And then, Microsoft owns everything in Seattle, and I started thinking maybe software is where I should be, and I just sort of fell backwards into it. And I think one of the secrets of anywhere you want to be is telling everybody you know where you want to go, because it keeps it in your mind and it keeps it in their mind. You never know who they'll know that can help you out. And that's kind of been like the weird success that I've had with the places that I've gone. But after being a developer, I specifically was in data, because after being a developer, you realize that the most valuable thing on earth isn't gold, or maybe it's water and air, but it's also data. Because every company, that is their most valuable thing. From like Facebook, they don't make money from ads, they make money from you, from your data that you sell. So other companies know what you like to buy and what you do. So I've been in data so long that I remember when Microsoft had the first Teradata server ever. It was a big deal, but those who got to work on it were very special. So that's been my specialty. And so right now at Expedia, I help run the customer data store. So every time you buy something on Expedia, on hotels.com, or you click, or you travel on the site, everything you do is captured. And it's captured in what we call a history. And my guys analyze all that data, and it's massive, massive, massive data. Like one of Amazon.com's biggest income streams right now is storing and processing this data for companies like mine. So data is amazing. It's been my whole career. That's what I thought. Oh, so what I do on a daily basis is I help my developers with their daily projects, managing this data process, figuring out how we're going to use it, running the projects, the vision, and the roadmap, and making sure that what we're doing for hotels.com has a lot of business value and makes us the best profit that we can, as well as having the best site that we can.
So a little bit of background on me. I did an undergrad in biology, and then I did a master's in environmental engineering, and I never really had a concrete, say, job in mind that I was striving towards. I just was motivated by wanting to do something that had real world impact and that changed people's lives in like an important way. So initially with biology, I thought maybe that was medicine, and environmental engineering, everything related to resources and the physical planet we live on. And then while working in sustainability, I was working on an online tool, and that's sort of where I got the exposure to tech, and I found it super interesting. And it was actually where my interests and my background in terms of my education and experience, where they intersected. So then I said, okay, this is really interesting. Let me maybe move forward and pursue this tech idea a bit more. So I moved from Montreal. I left, I didn't have a job, and I moved over to London. And then there's quite a thriving startup scene here. So I essentially I reached out to people who were doing interesting things. And I said, do you need someone else on your team? And that's actually you should try it. It's very successful because people are looking for help. And if you're keen, it's a two-way street, right? So what you're bringing to the table, they want that, and then they can give you just invaluable experience. So I started off at 2 startups here, and then a friend who actually works at Uber, we were just chatting, and he knew that I was looking for kind of the next thing, and he said, why don't you try Uber? And then here I am. And so what I do as an operations manager, for those of you who don't know, Uber, we're an app, so we're a technology company that connects a network of riders with a network of drivers. So I work on the driver's side. And essentially, we're doing all kinds of things, but they break down into sort of 3 main areas. So the first one is, how do we get drivers on the platform? Where do we find people with cars? How do we let them know about Uber? How do we let them know about how to use the app? So it's increasing supply. And then the challenge that comes with that is once, you're starting in a small city like Liverpool. I was a part of the launch. And you start off, you've got 10 guys in a little room with IKEA furniture that you put together the night before. But eventually that changes, and now we've got hundreds, right? And across the UK, you have thousands, tens of thousands of drivers. So how do you make sure that your processes are keeping up with this hyper growth? And not only your processes, but also how do you make sure, for us, the driver side, how do you make sure there's still this sense of community? So balancing those 2 things, it's really important to us. And that's always our focus. So just always going back and saying, yes, we want to grow, and we're relying on drivers and riders to do this, and how do we make sure both sides are like really well looked after. And the other thing, similarly to everybody up here, is we're really data driven. So everything we do, we're constantly monitoring metrics, just everything we're looking at. I guess an example, recently we launched Jaoude. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's our wheelchair accessible vehicles. So this is a new product, and honestly, when we launched, we had no idea what demand would look like. So there's not that much data out there existingly. So we're saying, okay, we don't know. We're going to try. We're going to put X number of cars on the road. Let's see. And then we physically go in and we look at our monitoring tools and we see what is demand like, and then that informs all of our decisions. So, okay, there's huge demand. Let's see if we can find more partners, like business development partners, who can get us the vehicles we need. Oh, do we need to get more drivers to have a specific training to operate these vehicles and to take care of these riders? Let's do that. So constantly adjusting what we're doing. And I think just monitoring those moving pieces, there's real world, we have real physical vehicles, we've got humans, there's drivers, there's riders, and then there's product and end. So it's this interesting mix that I think keeps it exciting every day.
Very cool. So I'm hearing a bunch of different themes. I heard the word data so many times, never too many times. Definitely hearing about some sort of like disruptive industry, how to be agile. And I was really excited to hear you mention, Lauren, sort of like how to use data and how TfL is using data, because for me it really stands out as when TfL opened up their data sources, you get things like Citymapper. You get things like, and I don't know if you've seen this, I wish I thought of it and we could put it up on the screen, but there's this fantastic website that visualizes where every tube currently is in the city, and you can track the trains that are going, and there's this like soundtrack over the top of it. All of that data visualization is possible thanks to open source data, and that's really fantastic. And I would love to see, maybe this is in development, maybe this is a challenge to the crowd. I would love to see my own personal record of every single place that I've tapped in and tapped out, where I can go and see like a visualization over the last few months of my movements in London. So if there are any kind of like data visualization designers in the crowd, go speak to Lauren. But this is a good point for me to actually open it up to the audience and get some questions from you lot. I do have a few blind spots, so Pamela, if you'll help me, if you see hands shoot up that I don't see, let me know. My challenge to you guys is, I hate using the word guys, especially when it's direct women in the room. You all have to say your name, and one of the reasons why is because we have a prize actually.
We have a pack of code cards, which are amazing, and they help you learn how to code. We've also got Bank of America Merrill Lynch, very kindly sponsor us. We've got charges, we've got some other little goodies and stuff as well. So ask questions, give me your name, and then we'll announce it at the end.
Eddie and I are super jealous. We're like, we totally want those coding cards. So definitely motivations there for you to ask questions. Make sure that you say your name. Are we using the roaming mic?
We're not using a mic, so just shout like I am. One at a time, please.
Project your voice. Okay, who wants to go first? Go for it.
Go for it. What's your name, please?
My name is Asha Gupta. I'd like to ask where do you see the next challenges in the travel sphere?
Where are the next, we can take that and say how or maybe data or disruption, how will you see that challenge your industry, your role? Was there a focus on the question?
That is a general question.
See how you answer. So actually, how about we start with you? I'll stop picking on Eddie to go first.
In terms of challenges, I think the one that's very real is like the number of people that are growing in cities, like the population. So just whatever we create online and in that online world, how does it translate and what's the impact on the real world? And just making sure that those two things are always aligned and that we're conscious of that, that it's just world.
I think in the travel industry in particular, the biggest challenge we see now is the sharing economy. I know it's next week. For Expedia particularly, Airbnb, the rise of that is obviously a huge threat to the traditional hotel model, which is a huge part of our business. So as a result, we bought the competitor because that's what we do. We're very travelers. And also, as far as travel itself goes, and I mean, I travel a lot, so I'm Expedia and travel junkie, but one of the biggest challenges is the over-commoditization of what used to be very sweet, quiet places. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to Cinque Terre, but you're going to need a ticket soon because it can't handle enough people. I was just in Moderator a couple months ago, and one night it was a beautiful, sweet little town filled with little ladies walking around for hours. And 25 minutes it was 3 times the size with a cushion, just dumped its people. And it changes the character and the economy of town. And always a purchase for the locals. So Expedia does a lot of that because a lot of it is driven by us and by the deals that are driving the economies down with the sharing economy and discounting and all that. So it's an ethical thing as well.
So for us at TfL, I'll start with some of the challenges and I'll talk about some disruption. So the challenge for us is London is growing. So Ash's point, London is getting bigger. We're already at a historic 8.6 million Londoners, and we're going to be up to 10 million. That means we've got to carry around a lot more people. And everybody has ever increasing expectations. Because people want to get there quickly, people want to understand what's going on at any given moment, so we have to sort of adapt and provide that sort of information. But that's, I'd say, a challenge, but it's not the disruption. The disruption that's coming down the track is autonomous vehicles, right? So think about that. That changes a lot of how we think about what we're providing, and that's going to be the big one that we need to sort of think about. How do we, as a city, think about mobility, think about the way that changes sort of people's decisions and the way that we operate as a city and land use, and there's a whole big thing in that that we need to think about.
So for us, we were set, not really a challenge, but opportunity by our founder that the ideal thing for any travel search booking business is to book your travel before you knew you wanted it. Which sounds a bit scary if you think about it, but if you think about the sort of devices you're connected to the entire day, and the sort of information you're volunteering the entire time, it's quite plausible. Everybody's talked about data and the amount of data collected on people. The scary bit and the challenge is gathering that data in a way that doesn't bother people, that they actually see the benefit of it in time, that having known that you're going to be with someone in a place at a time, and we reserved flight or hotel to help you do that, that's not so scary anymore. So the challenge is to get over people's privacy hurdle, if you like, to be able to do that kind of thing. That's the disruption that hasn't quite happened yet, but data flows up to really know when you're doing it. So if you're on the tube, that's been collected somewhere, so you're not your personal data, but it can't be that. So that's the challenge to try and do that. And I think if we get there, that's really making people's lives a bit better by them not having to do very much. And that's really where hopefully we'll end up, not too far away.
I remember one time in my university years, I joked that I was going to travel to this place with one of my friends over, I think it was Skype. And the next time that I used Bing, I had a really big advertisement to go to this place. Whether it was connected or not, I don't know. But then I kept on joking about it online, and I kept sharing my story online, and I kept getting all of these targeted advertisements to go to this place and saying, to the point that I actually did buy a ticket and go. So I completely fell into it. They harvested my data, and I was right there with them. And you have your challenges.
I want to put a technical spin on it, I think. I want to be a bit geeky. So I think there's 2 aspects. One is, we mentioned a lot of data coming in. I think a lot of places collect more data than we know what to do with it. So you're always kind of playing catch up in that you've got more data, you're doing what you need right now, but you don't know what you're going to need in the future, but you've got the data. So historically you want to see what happens or use that as prediction. So we were talking earlier on, so I really want to maybe your future questions about AI and machine learning is that with all that data, like you can predict, so maybe more with TfL, you can predict times of day that people are going to go and estimate and predict where's the best time to have, I don't know, more trains running or more tubes running or more buses, etc. and so forth. So I think that's coming up very, very soon actually. There's a lot of stuff happening in the area. So getting quite excited.
Next question, sure.
Give your name as well.
Yes, yeah, name and then.
Okay, sorry. I'm Edmund, and you touched a little bit. So lots of data is collected nowadays, and I guess that lots of the data that we collect is like misused or is kind of used to, not misused in a way, but for example, I book a trip to go to Rome through booking.com or hotel.com, and then also I book a plane through Skyscanner to go there, and half an hour after I've finished everything else, everything that I need to plan and everything, I go on my Google, and what I see there is Skyscanner that is trying to sell me a ticket to go to Rome again. And booking.com or hotels.com is trying to sell me some other hotels in the same. So all the data is connected, it is collected through different sources and everything. In this case, through my clicking different websites. Is there like a problem why this happens? Is they can control, how can this be controlled so you don't bother the people anymore on the the industry doesn't bother the people anymore on this direction. It's also somehow we force people to do something. Since you represent the data collection and everything, force people to do something that they not really want to do. That, like you did, you booked this place.
I ended up wanting to do it. I did, yeah. I'm going to point this question to.
All over the place, but the first one is a bit more.
How about, David, we want to hear from you, and then I'd love to hear from you, Denise, as well, onto the topic of harvesting mass data and how you actually use that data to improve the customer experience, or user experience, hoping they'll become customers.
Oh no, in that case. So I'm sorry. So there are two sides to it. If you think about the business, if you see that advert somewhere, then it's being paid for. So all advertising paid for at some point. So effectively, if you've done something and you've been reminded about it again, then we've paid for nothing because you've already done what you wanted to, but you've been advertised to, which is a waste of our money. So there's clearly a disconnect in how data is collected and joined, which is one of the big problems on the web, that you collect data and then the data hits a dead end somewhere. So the classic thing for us is because we don't sell flights and pass off to an airline or Expedia or something like that, where you buy the ticket, we don't always know that you've actually booked it. So there is sometimes a disconnect, the data doesn't get joined up for whatever reason. And it's not a good thing, it's bad when it gets to your case that you've seen something you didn't really want. You're on the point that you've been sort of pushed towards something you didn't really want to do, and I don't buy that essentially. I mean, the thing would only be there in front of you if you had a behavioural pattern that produced that advert. So if you've been looking for flights in our case, we would only serve that advert if you genuinely look for it. Otherwise, you maybe see a generic one for our company, but you wouldn't see something specific. I don't think we ever drive anybody to that, but if we do, then that's all right, we can take that away and look at it. But we shouldn't try and push people into things they don't really want to do. I guess no advertiser really wants to do that ultimately. That's a decent answer. I'll pass on to my colleague.
So, being in data, and actually I was in online advertising in Microsoft for quite some time before I came to Expedia. I've become something of a paranoid data person. So it's like every doctor thinks they're getting your disease at the same time. So when you do things like, say you want to search on Google for a hotel in Paris, what happens is a little tiny pixel, a cookie, gets left on your computer saying what you did and when, and any kind of demographic information you may have given, like if you put in certain dates, did you have any adults or children who were searching for tickets? It's all very valuable information. You can set your browser to dump those cookies when you shut the browser. You can install things like ad blockers on your computer so you won't see those ads. But the way Expedia works is we have all different kinds of ads. There are sponsored ads, and I personally find those irritating, from any company, because it's just random ads. But then there are sponsored ads, and when you do a search, sometimes the very first results you get are paid for. And that makes a lot of people angry because it seems like it's not fair, so you have to say sponsored ad. Another kind is search engine marketing, which is say I search for poodles, and suddenly I see ads for dogs coming down the side of my browser. It's because those are search engine generated, and we is being paid to do that. And it's all algorithms that we produce, which all comes from data. So I would agree. I would say generally, if you're seeing ads in your browser, it's because you've had behaviors that say that's what we want, and that's what we're inferring. So I guess it depends. If you have a lot of random Google activity, then you have to go in and random as well. So, but it shouldn't be pushing you into what you don't want if that's what you believe. Definitely, clean your cookies, put ad blockers up, and keep your browser much more clean.
Yeah, put a sticky note on the webcam.
And I think, if I can just sort of jump in, I think there is a responsibility for sort of being transparent about what you're doing, what we're doing. And I say this from sort of the public sector, right? So we have high amounts of oversight in terms of what we're doing with the Information Commission, and we are very transparent about how we're using data, what we collect, how long we keep it, and when we're collecting it, why. And I think this is what we found in our discussions. We do some research and discussions with our customers and users about how we're using the data. And what we found in some of we've done some focused research, is people want to understand the reason behind it, and they want to feel like they're getting something out of it. And that sort of value and benefit from it is really important. And I think this is what, if you get it wrong, we get it wrong, then you won't have trust. If we're sort of open about it and clear about what we're doing and why, this is how you can sort of build trust, and you can build sort of an outcome and some products and using the data in a way that will be useful. But it really does come down to being clear and building that trust.
Absolutely. We'll have one more question. I've paused for too long. You were second up last time, so go ahead. Your name and your question.
My name is Lucrezia, and I wanted to ask, we're talking a lot about data and how precious it is. But someone also mentioned privacy, and I wanted to ask something about this. Don't you think that as we get more and more aware, like people get more aware of that we don't have any more privacy on the internet, don't you think that they will get more concerned about their privacy, and do you think there will be a reverse trend where people will demand that their data be protected? And yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, Eddie, why don't you start out?
I haven't got, a full answer to that, but my initial thoughts are, I think you're right in terms of trend. I think things do go on cycle. I see that in the tech industry a lot in general, that whatever is said now with best practice now, in 5 years it will be what was 5 years before, and it's kind of like, okay, it's slightly different, it's not exactly the same, but it's like with big data, the way they talk about it and all that sort of thing, it does seem to kind of go in cycles. It does improve each time. So I do see that, and I think now people are giving information to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these different things, and I don't use Snapchat, but I understand that's like the opposite. You have a kind of conversation that kind of disappears and goes. So maybe it is the start of the next step, which is the opposite. The news services will give the least amount of information, but still make the service useful to do whatever you need to do, and then eventually it'll swing around again. You give me some good actually. That's all good. I give you half.
Yeah, from my understanding of the trends, and I'd like to actually hear your view on this as well. I've heard through the grapevine that the next big development will be data banks for each personal user. So at the moment, we're all giving our data, everyone here has a Facebook account, you're giving away that data for free, and Facebook is making millions off of it, I think, as Denise was saying. And we're going to see the emergence of these personal user data banks, where you have a very clear visual over all of the data that exists about you. And you can choose when and to whom and for what reason you give that data. So you can have, like you said, it has to be useful. I can say, okay, TfL, I'm going to give you this data about myself, but I want to get this in return. And that actually you make the most of that, in a way, monetary transaction. And you're reaping the benefits rather than big global companies that just harvest data for not necessarily just for their own good. I mean, these aren't evil conglomerates, but definitely to bring it back into the hands of the user as well. So can you speak to that as well, sort of like the data and privacy?
Shall I? So first of all, there are a lot of regulations with that data protection, data privacy. The Information Commission sets out the rules and requirements for the UK. There also there's a GDPR, the new data protection regulations that are coming to force over the next 2 years. Now, a lot of very specific requirements on organizations. So, certainly public sector, but also just companies in general about how they're using data, how they're collecting it, how proportionate it is. And certainly from a TFL perspective, we are very clear about what data we need and why. And there are certain requirements if you want to buy. If you're going to buy, say, an annual season ticket, you're going to spend a lot of money with us. For that, we need to know who you are, because if you lose a ticket, you're going to want to replace it. We're going to replace it for you. But there are times where you don't need to tell us who you are. We don't need to know. And that's very important for us to be able to have that flexibility for people to travel on a network without having to give over information. So we already have this sort of proportionate test about making sure that we treat our data privacy and protection very seriously. And there's basically a team that works closely as an oversight to make sure what we're doing across TFL services is appropriate to protect data, and that's very important. It's important to protect our customers and the public, and it's an important support for me and my team just to make sure that we're doing the right things. And so I would say that's important to keep in mind. I would say that one has to understand when you're consuming services, and again, this is and you're thinking about going on Facebook. There is an exchange going on, right? There's a benefit from a customer, a Facebook user, on a free service, and what Facebook has decided is that the trade-off is that they're getting your data, and that's a decision that we as a user have to decide. And if I know some people who aren't on Facebook, and that may be the reason why. And it's you have to there is an exchange on this stuff, and I think it's making sure that we're transparent.
I think we'll have to stop there for this question, but if there's something really important that you want to mention, we can definitely mention it. But I want to move on to a little bit more in-depth questions with each of you. Kind of drawing from the questions that we've had from the audience, from the themes that we've heard so far, seems like privacy and how we use data is definitely an important one on the list. So actually, I'll start with you as the sort of new kid on the block. Uber has been making all of these headlines recently. Can you all hear me okay? A bit louder. I can definitely try to project my voice a little bit more. Art, I can just get off my seat and get the microphone. How about that? So actually, it's the new kid on the block, the person from Uber, and it seems collecting data from Code First Girls. Actually, a lot of the Code First Girls students say it's one of their favorite startups, and they'd love to work for Uber. So can you maybe tell us a little bit more about what you do on a day-to-day basis for Uber, and then I'll dig a little bit deeper into that.
Sure, so I think it's similar to what I was saying before about really specifically my role. I'm on one of these centralized teams. So essentially, we started in London, and we were dedicated, our team was small, we were dedicated to growing the London business. And then now we're actually all across the UK. So as we've scaled up and we've grown, we realized actually maybe we're duplicating work in places. Maybe all of our local city teams, maybe they shouldn't be thinking about the best way to say, do payments, which is my area. Maybe they actually need to be on the ground and have conversations with partner drivers. So looking at essentially every day, what processes can we take over and run centrally? So specifically with payments, looking at ways, does it make sense for all of these ops managers in different cities to essentially be doing the same processes on a Monday morning when we run our process, like replicating the same thing, or can we streamline it? And then a process, or part of that process that's actually really interesting is when we're centralizing, we're actually thinking, okay, not only are we looking at taking things over from other cities, but maybe now we can think about working smarter. maybe there's something that's been in place for a really long time and you've just always done it because that's just kind of been the way. But actually, if we want to streamline and get faster and be more efficient, what can we do? Can we get rid of, say, maybe this process we had, or we have incentives. So when partner drivers first come online in a new city, just to help grow it, we have certain incentives. It's like maybe changing the structure of those. Can we play around with that? We'll do analyses on it, see does it change anything? Just how does it make it better for partners? So really that's essentially the day-to-day, and it can take all forms, really, like every day is different. There's also a lot of contact we do have with partner drivers. So whether that's through email, we've gotten to a stage where we're so big where we have like dedicated support centers. This is really exciting actually in London, where we've got like Uber experts now who are there. They've got tons of knowledge, and our partner drivers come in and they just deal with like any questions they have. And so we still have like a really close relationship. So it's just like building those relationships with the partner drivers as well. But super varied every day, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, I love this idea of working with centralized data and bringing it all together into one place. Changing my perspective, it's important in tech. And working in the cloud and sort of making processes more efficient. And I want to get the rest of the panel's view on this. So maybe we'll have to come back to you in a moment, Ashley. But like this idea of using tech, using data in a way that's disruptive is something that I want to hear David speak about especially, because I can carry it back. David, developer advocate. So you said that you kind of created that role over Skyscanner. It's certainly popular in places like Google and Facebook. But to me, developer advocate really spells disruption. You said it yourself, you're all about, let me change this way, let me change the way that I'm using this data, let me change the way that we even think about user experience. So maybe you can talk a little bit more to what is being a developer advocate. It's a really exciting potential that probably most of the jobs that you'll be doing in 5 years' time don't exist yet. That's so exciting.
So I mentioned a little piece of it where I spend some of my day working with startups, some bigger companies trying to work at two ends of the spectrum, I guess. So at one end, I spent time today at Amazon trying to work with some Amazon equipment. I don't know if you've seen an Amazon Echo device in the States. So I spent some time last year building a voice search, because I think the other half of my job is to disrupt Skyscanner, which is interesting. It's almost like competing in the company to prove that something's going to come along that we need to be ready for. So if you go back 4 years, I'm kind of going around in circles here, forgive me. If you go back 4 years, my job then was to make sure we were ready for mobile, which the company wasn't. And we had to make some bets then. The fact that people would migrate towards mobile devices wasn't a big risk. It was going to happen anyway. You could see it happening in the Far East. Things tend to happen in the rest of the world eventually. The bets were things like which platforms to spend our time on. Is it mobile web? What did we do with BlackBerry, which was big enough at the time, but was it going to collapse? And it did. We made some limited bets on BlackBerry back then. Now, I think we're 60% of our users are on mobile phones the whole time they use Skyscanner. And they transact on mobile phones the same as they did on desktop. So we made that migration safely by making those bets over the years. Now, I get sent to conferences to talk about mobile development because of that history. And I tell people not to build apps because I think it's stupid. So I tell people now to think about messaging, which is the next big disruption in the tech world. I don't know if you've seen anything lately. Facebook Messenger is now a platform that you can chat to a robot instead of having to press buttons and things like that. Don't have to type anything necessarily. Our first bet on that was Alexa with Amazon Echo in the States. And it's limited use, but it lets us learn a different way to do what we did. And we fundamentally believe by making that bet early, we learned there's much less friction in booking a flight, for example, than in doing it by voice or doing it by message than there was in pressing 12, 15, 20 buttons, typing some stuff to get what you want. Now, we flipped it from Skyscanner's model used to be that you asked a fairly simple question and got a complicated answer. By that, I mean, you want a flight from London to Edinburgh, on a certain time. We give you 200 options because endless companies will sell you the ticket, even though maybe only 5 planes will take you there. What you actually want is the flight that's relevant to you, the company you want to book with at the price, right? So you should be able to ask a fairly complicated question to get the one answer. So that leads us into things like natural language and some level of artificial intelligence to know what you are asking and know a little bit about yourself if you've got over the privacy and hurdle and volunteered it to give you the answer you actually want in the first place. So it's kind of my job to make those bets and try and figure out where we spend our time, either at companies like Amazon, Google, people we deal with, or at the other end where people are disrupting it in a small way, we have to build them up. So disrupting your own company is good fun, but one thing I would mention is I spent this afternoon with a company who want to build a really nice way of disrupting like backpacking, but can't find any developers. So they're finding that there's a lack of people who want to disrupt stuff in a particular industry. They wanted to open it up. So the other nice part of the job is bringing developers to good ideas, which anybody here would be able to follow up and ask afterwards if you're interested. But that's one of the nice parts of it.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things is to watch all of the new release shows, like the recent one that Microsoft did, where they're analyzing real language, and they're using Skype, and they're putting Cortana and bots into Skype, and basically letting you have a chat with someone, and then analyze that chat, and then suggest things on the back of that. And I always get so motivated by that. But then you have to realize that these are ideas that already exist. There are developers working on this, and I kind of get excited at Pliku, like after it's happened, which is part of the reason why I joined the developer team, because I wanted to be on the inside and see it as it was happening. But so I know, Lawrence, you were one of the ones who was really essential in the disruption that happened at TFL. I'm reading here, you've worked on the development of the Oyster card system, of contactless. You were involved in the entire project of the Olympics in 2012. So you're kind of one of the disruptors at TFL in the last few years. So I'd love to hear a bit more about that, but also a little bit more about where is it going? What's the next thing? When will I be able to pay with my Microsoft band when I board my bus in the morning?
Well, so it's going back to how does a company disrupt itself? We put in Oyster card. We sort of said that it was not very new technology at the time. It was about 2003 when we started. It was everybody saying, yeah, this is great, smart cards are great. Cities all around the world would come to us and say, oh, tell us how to bring in a smart card system. But actually, this is how we disrupt ourselves. Is we actually said, okay, this is great, but let's not stop here. How do we think about what we're trying to do, what our customers want? And this is a case where we sat down, just a few of us in the room, and said, okay, nobody gets up in the morning and says, hooray, I want to buy a ticket to travel. I want to buy my Oyster card, and top it up. And we said, but it is sort of a necessary to make sure that you're paying before you pay. And so we said, how can we make it easier? And it was really like saying, okay, what's out there? How do we think about this? And we sat down and we said, okay, could you pay? What's stopping us from sort of doing something new and different? This is where we talked to the payment industry. And we said, we understand you're thinking about contactless payment cards, Visa and MasterCard, and American Express. Wouldn't this be great if you could do this and make this work on the transport network? And it had a good business case financially for us because it reduces the cost of ticketing. And it's great to put that back into the services that we're running. And it was good for the customer. And so in some of this disruption, and what makes it work, it has a really attractive commercial piece. And it has a fantastic customer experience, because again, we removed some of the pain points, which is people have to walk up and tap, and they were tapping the Oyster card and finding they had to top up. Now you don't have to do that anymore. And now you can do this with your credit card, you can do this with your phone, with Apple Pay and Android Pay, and that's a lot of fun to sort of see that and sort of think about how do you anticipate it and how do you make it happen. It's great.
That's very cool. Well, we've got this on camera, so if you go ahead with this, I'll have to get credit. But I always love the idea of, now that we're actually paying with our contactless cards, I would love to have 1 pence 1 penny every time that I tap in goes to a charity of my choice.
Well, so there's a fund where you can sign up for it actually, where you would additionally. So it was it's sort of separate. It was the previous mayor's Fund for London, where you could sort of volunteer a penny for London on contactless payments, and it was for some of the chains, Pratt, Eat, and we had it too. I don't know if it's still opening, but we had it now, but it was something that we had done. So yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
But so on the topic of charities, I'm speaking to Mr. Eddie here. I'm getting picked on again. And Eddie, I mean, you do a lot of work volunteering with charities. You do a lot of work for non-for-profits, including your work here with Code First Girls. So as a gender consultant, I really want to know more about that, but also how does that actually inform the work that you do on a day-to-day basis? Like, how does the volunteering that you do, the charity work that you're involved in, the kind of like the diversity values that you're clearly committed to, how do you bring that back into the work that you do at Crossrail, and how does that sort of inform your work as a developer?
Wow, okay, I could definitely talk a long time about this. I will try and keep it short.
Like 2 minutes.
And then we can talk more about it afterward. So, I get involved in a lot of communities, and it's only started very recently. But I do a lot of events, and I do more than diversity events. So, Code First Girls, Empower Hack, which is a really good community. They develop apps for refugees, focusing on women and girls. Acorn Hack, which is for 12-year-old and 19-year-olds, teaching them how to code and become entrepreneurs. And that was, quite recent, and that was actually mind-opening to see a 12-year-old in a weekend build an app that she could demo to over 100 people and be really proud of it. And it's phenomenal. And she was so good that she was invited to the Empower Hackathon. And she came and she sat with a team of adults, so people who do this as a day job. And she sat with them, she built them for their app, she built them a website on the weekend, and then again presented it in front of 100 adults. I was thinking, wow, she's 12. Imagine, I started coding at 21. So, when she's like 21, she's going to be like even more awesome. So, those are the things that really get inspired me to do more and more. I mean, what my wife tells me, when am I going to see you? So I'm now doing events and conferences abroad a bit, so I can drag her along for a nice holiday. But no, it's really good. I meet so many amazing people. And every time I go to an event, I meet more people. And I still meet people from previous events. And it's made me actually be more aware about diversity at work. So actually at Crossrail, the diversity is actually really, really high. Surprisingly, out of all the places I work, I think it's not perfect, don't get me wrong. But it's a step in the right direction. I think we have about 30% women in the department. And I've learned recently, that's not the only metric for diversity I know. That's a whole, I'm learning all that, it's a whole other conversation. But it's really taught me to, to be, not just to focus on the tech stuff as well. So being a techie geek, always focus on the tech stuff. So it's brought me out of my shell, which allowed me to be on a panel and chat to all of you people, all of you wonderful people, I should say. So yes, so it's good fun, and I enjoy it, and I definitely recommend everybody just to get involved. You don't have to be a techie. The Empower Hack Hackathon, I think only about 30% were techie developers, people moving from other industries into tech, or were designers, user experience, marketing people, so on. Like forever, a bit where it's not. But come and find me afterwards, and I'll cheer you off and chat to you about this.
We were making comments earlier about how add tech to anything, it makes it instantly more interesting. Travel tech up there is an event. Health tech, fintech, all of them now are getting increasingly interesting and important because they're being disrupted and sort of challenged by the immersion of technology. And I've tried to do links through all of these ones, so this may be a bit tenuous, but you're saying to me that sort of you're coming into the tech world with a bit of an accent. You said you fell backwards into it, which I just love the idea that, actually, these are my people, and this is the space that I feel challenged by and motivated by. And when we were having a conversation earlier, you mentioned that actually one of the things that you're doing at hotels.com, but you also mentioned this mysterious personal thing that you're doing as well that you really wanted to talk about in terms of how that is disruptive. How you're using tech to disrupt words in your mouth, or a little bit. Well, anyway, I think technical product manager. Let's hold back on that. A lot of we were mentioning earlier, a lot of the jobs that these people are going to be doing, certainly that I'm even doing today, didn't exist a few years back. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what is a technical product manager. You've been in the industry for 10 years, maybe you can speak to that and speak to where is hotels.com going? You mentioned the challenge posed by things like Airbnb. How do you think that hotels.com could resolve that challenge, and what will your part be in resolving that challenge? It's a big world to start. Good luck.
Okay, so the biggest challenge obviously is sharing economy, but not a huge one. In fact, we spoke to it as mobile, because I was actually working at Microsoft back in the late 90s when they developed Expedia. A lot of people remember this. Expedia was born out of Microsoft in Seattle. We built a search engine which became Bing, which we built a travel company which became Expedia, a car selling site and a real estate site, both of which have gone to the big black hole in the sky, which is a cloud. We built it as a website, and at the time, Bill Gates was all, there's no internet, no one's going to care, and then all of a sudden they did, and website, desktops. But nobody really saw that we all ended up like Star Trek Next Generation with, the little handheld things. I'm aging myself. There was a great show in the early 90s. Anyway, they carried around these little things that look exactly like smartphones now. And suddenly these websites have all these great technologies and flashy things and sound that suddenly no longer appropriate for mobiles. And there's a design revolution going on right now that we've had to adopt as well. I'm sure you recognize the Tufty revolution, who was a designer who pretty much said that you don't need all this stuff. You just need a very simple font, a very simple drop down, because it can't handle all these beautiful things you spent all these years developing in the early 2000s. So HCOM Hotels has developed pretty good mobile application. And we've noticed the millennial split in my generation or before that. Millennials want mobile, and that's just how they speak. And most of our bookings now are coming from the mobile application. And now we're talking about different platforms that are going to come even smaller, like, did I say something with the Apple Watch? I know, so, yeah. Like, how can we incorporate that? The bottom line is, how can we make it the easiest for you to purchase our product on the quickest application, costing you and me as little money as possible? That means as few middlemen in between, like we can build our own payments processing. We can do our own quick design. And what it comes down to is just what application, what hardware is between you and the product that you want to buy.
That's very cool. So, just to remind you all, there will be plenty of opportunity after this. There's drinks and nibbles where you'll be able to speak to each of our wonderful panelists. I'm going to open it back up to the room. Let's get a few more questions. Let's get one more question.
And then we can have a drink
and we can all mingle and chat. So remember, say your name and ask your question.
I'm Sarah, and my question is, so I've heard a few areas where there might be some opportunities to develop travel further, so Amazon Echo is a really good example. We know that sharing economy is disrupting travel now, but what other things do you see in the future to disrupt the travel industry?
Love this question. How are the disruptors sat on the stage now going to be disrupted?
Okay, I'll give one example of a trend that I'm seeing, and I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think virtual reality having an impact on travel?
Just what I was going to say.
Virtual reality, alternate reality, augmented reality. Let's hear it.
If virtual reality is any good, why would you travel? That's disruption. If it really, really works, if you can wander around Mars, you're not going to fly there. So there's
as much as Elon Musk wants you to. I won't rest until you can ask your fridge for the price of a flight. Massive tower. We prototyped it with, I think it's Samsung. We called it Book While You Cook, which is really cheesy, but it.
In your accent, it was perfect. Say it again.
No. Give me a drink and maybe after. If you're standing in the kitchen, you're making your dinner, you realise you're going on a flight on Friday, you haven't booked it, shout at the fridge. That's a little bit stupid disruption, but it's useful to somebody, right? And the way everything's connected, your fridge will be able to buy the milk for you before too long, and that's not far off. There's little disruptions like that make sense. But VR is a good one. We looked at it as ways of inspiring people to travel, but again, maybe leading towards making people buy things they didn't want. But if you can immerse people in something they want to go to, then that's a way of inspiring. We see it as a way of getting people to travel with VR rather than replacing it, but who knows until people actually use it.
Ashley, how about you? I mean, machine learning is a big thing for Uber because you're launching your driverless cars, which is fundamentally rethinking Uber as a concept because it's all about having drivers and riders. What if you subtract the driver and actually Uber's the driver? So speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess I'll caveat that by saying it's early stages. And I think with that, really, again, super early, we look at disruption as something that's amazing. Like we have these cultural values within the company. One of them is always be hustling. And another one is best idea wins, right? So I think that motivates us to push above and beyond for ourselves. And then we're saying, yeah, sure, if there's competition, if there's new people coming into the market, if there are other ways of achieving the same end goal, let's look at it. Let's bring it to the table. So I think we always have that in mind. Like, we don't necessarily think at any given time we're doing the best thing. We know the next thing is right around the corner. So we're always tuned into that. And I think to David's point as well, like when we think about disruption, sometimes it seems really fast, right? And it hits us all at once, but really it's a series of incremental changes. So that's how I see it, especially from like an operational point of view, that we're doing little things every day that then have this compound effect, while simultaneously being tuned into what's happening around us. So it's kind of that combination and just being really flexible and open, saying, our business model, we didn't have a predetermined business model. Like, I don't know if you guys know how we were actually started, but it was just our founders were standing on the street in Paris, it was snowing, and they're just like, man, we can't get a cab. Wouldn't it be amazing if you could just like push a button and get a car? So it was just this basic idea, if you think about it, right? And there was no grand plan to come this far. It was just a series of iteration and just being really open to change and to like disrupting ourselves. Even on a personal level, I was speaking to my manager the other day. He's like, Ashley, you may have done this project so well. You actually have like worked yourself out of this role and you need to go on and find another team. So we're not, opposed to that. We think it's great.
Well, I'm sure some provisions are in need of Uber at the moment. The strikes are interesting to contend with. Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up the actual panel discussion here. I want to thank you all for being amazing and thank you for the questions. And if I can just wrap up on just one final point, and this is something that I heard at South by Southwest, because it's this big techie conference that happens in Austin every year. The challenge that was posed to the crowd was stop starting with data. Stop starting with where you are now. And start thinking about ideas. Start thinking about, wouldn't it be great if? Wouldn't it be awesome if this thing existed? And then go back, data do I need to have that happen? Which developers, which skill sets do I need to have that happen? That's how you end up with a lot of the developments that we were talking about on this stage right now. So if it's one challenge to you, and maybe if I can extend and speak on behalf of the panel from us all, is sort of think creatively, think disruptively, find that idea that really gets you going, and then work backwards from there. Where do I find my job? Who do I speak to? What skill sets do I need to learn? What course do I do with Pro First Girls to ensure I'm really top notch in terms of all of my skill set? So, you know, think not what data can do for you or what you can do for data. Like, how can you make data even better just by using all of these amazing ideas? So thank you so much. We're going to open up to drinks and nibbles. I don't know if Charlotte, you want to say some final words, or Amali actually, put the CEO on stage.
So, first of all, I think a round of applause for Annabelle for hosting. So thank you very much for being tonight. We do have our prize. Charlotte, have you looked? Have you decided? There we go. And the only thing just to wrap up is to say, for those of you who know a little bit about us, I'm really lovely to see you again. For those of you who haven't met us before, Code First Girls, as Charlotte mentioned at the beginning, we're a social enterprise. We focus on the ability to check out entrepreneurship. If you're between the ages of 18 to 23, if you're a student, if you are 2 years from graduating, you can actually apply for free coding courses, so check out our website. If you're a working woman, if you've got a company who wants to run courses, you can apply for our professional courses as well. So we do something for everybody. And actually, the company courses are for the men in the family as well.
Ally friendly.
Really like friendly. We also do consulting around tech talent recruitment and retention. So if your companies are struggling to recruit, come and have a chat with us. We're always happy to chat. And do come. We've got more events coming up. We've got a media tech event later in the year. We've got our summer program. We've got our autumn program. So keep checking out our website and sign up to our newsletter because there's lots more good stuff to come. Thank you very much for coming. And